Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to share the fantastic projects from the second round of the National Estuary Program Coastal Watersheds Grants. I'm Suzanne Simon, the Program Director for this effort at Restore America's Estuaries, also known by its acronym RAE or RAE. We manage this program on behalf of and in close coordination and cooperation with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. This webinar is being recorded, and assuming everything goes according to plan, we will be posting it to RAE's YouTube channel for those of us who will not be able to join us in person. I wanted to help folks put a face to a name as the person behind this in terms of the staffing. And with that, I will be turning off my camera so we can focus on the projects and program. For today's event, we'll be highlighting the projects, but before that, we'll provide an overview of RAE and the grant program, along with a message from EPA. So a quick overview of Restore America's Estuaries for those who may not be familiar with us. We are a national nonprofit in its 26th year with alliance members all over the country as shown in this map. We couldn't do the work without them, and we are very grateful for all that they do. So before we get to the awardees, I wanted to provide some background and context for this grant program. The first being the grant geography. So the areas in orange on this slide show which areas are geographically eligible. In other words, all the projects have to occur in their entirety in one of these polygons. Other project requirements for the 2021 round. The projects must address one or more actions in a comprehensive conservation and management plan or other publicly approved state plan. These documents outline the critical impacts facing NEPs and the actions they have identified to address them. The projects must be 1 to 2 years in length. They must yield environmental results, which are then reported out to both technical audiences, such as resource managers, and lay audiences, such as local community members. For 2021, projects must address one or more of the 3 priorities, which were selected from a longer list as identified by Congress when they created this program. For this year, it was harmful algal blooms, loss of habitat, flooding, and coastal erosion. Please note that these priorities will change with each RFP. So the process by which these projects were selected, it was a 2-step process. The first was a letter of intent or an LOI, followed by a full proposal if invited to do so. This was a very competitive round yet again. The full amount of funds requested in the LOI stage were more than $15 million, again, showing the need and demand for these projects and the impacts and challenges. So our review panel of seasoned experts reviewed all of the LOIs and the full proposal and provided their input, which led to the selection of these projects. For those of you interested in funding for future rounds, the next RFP will be released in the spring of 2022. Excuse me. At this time, I'd like to thank EPA for the funding and the opportunity to administer these grants, our program committee and review panel members who have been tremendously important in developing the process and reviewing the proposals, the entire RAE team who've worked tirelessly to ensure that the program works as efficiently as possible, from our amazing administrative staff to our communications folks, to our leadership, and to our development team. It's been an amazing team effort. I'd also like to thank our partners advocating for our estuaries, including the Association of National Estuary Programs, who are essential in making these issues and programs a priority. And finally, and certainly not least, I would like to thank Congress for their support of estuaries and this program in particular. So next up, we have a message from Bob Benson with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
I'm Bob Benson, Chief of the Partnership Programs Branch in the Office of Wetlands, Oceans, and Watersheds, where the National Estuary Program resides at EPA. On behalf of the agency, I'm very pleased to congratulate the recipients of this year's second round of NEP Coastal Watersheds Grants. We'd also like to thank Restore America's Estuaries, who skillfully award the grants and administer this grant program on behalf of the agency. The recipients this year are located on each coast and include the Coastal and Heartland National Estuary Partnership, the Maryland Coastal Bays Program, the Tillamook Estuaries Partnership, and the University of Southern Maine, working together with the Casco Bay Estuary Partnership. A total of just over $703,000 will be provided to support a diverse set of projects that were selected after going through a very competitive process. These projects address several key priorities laid out by Congress, including loss of key habitats, coastal flooding and erosion, and harmful algal blooms. The projects also will improve water quality by quantifying nitrogen uptake from kelp and shellfish, restoring wetland and upland habitat diversity and function, and improving fish passage for critical upstream spawning habitat. These efforts also will help address the impacts of climate change, which is one of the Biden administration's top priorities. EPA looks forward to hearing about the progress of these projects as they proceed, and we are excited to see the tangible environmental results of this work once the projects are concluded. Again, on behalf of EPA, congratulations to all of the awardees.
Great. Thank you, Bob. And now, here's the good stuff. On to the projects. First up, Maine.
Welcome to Casco Bay. Casco Bay's inlets and bays are home to more than 800 species of marine life, more than 10,000 acres of tidal marsh, and 5,000 acres of eelgrass. The bay supports significant lobster and clam fisheries and anchors a booming tourism economy. Portland, Maine, the region's largest city, is at the southern end of Casco Bay. The city is an engine for the state's economy. Hi, I'm Curtis Boland. I'm the director of the Casco Bay Estuary Partnership. We're working with the New England Environmental Finance Center and Running Tide, an innovative aquaculture company here in Portland, to test ways to improve water quality by using methods originally developed by the aquaculture industry. Urbanization is hard on coastal waters, and the Portland metropolitan area is no exception. Concentrations of nutrients, especially nitrogen, in the waters in and around Portland regularly exceed levels of concern. High levels of nutrients can endanger eelgrass beds or lower dissolved oxygen in the bay, threatening marine ecosystems and coastal fisheries. Those nutrients have many sources, including the largest and third largest wastewater treatment plants in Maine, 35 permitted combined sewer overflows, and dozens of stormwater outfalls. Direct runoff from hundreds of acres of urban lands enter the bay here as well. Casco Bay has a long history of harmful algal blooms caused by red tides. But in recent years, other harmful species, thought to be more responsive to elevated nutrient levels, have appeared for the first time in Maine waters. These blooms can depress dissolved oxygen levels or produce toxins that force closure of clam fats. Our communities have been investing in clean water for years. Combined sewer overflow volumes in the region have dropped close to 50 million gallons a year for over 2 decades. Recent process changes at the East End Wastewater Treatment Facility have reduced summer discharges of nitrogen to the bay by more than 2/3. But future investments are likely to be costly. Upgrading the East End plant to full tertiary treatment would cost at least $40 million. Other investments in clean water, whether for additional reductions in combined sewer overflows or better stormwater treatment, are also daunting. And that's where our project comes in. Our project will explore the use of shellfish and kelp to reduce nitrogen levels in local waters. Over the next 2 years, right out there, near the outfall of the East End Wastewater Treatment Plant, the project team will establish a 4-acre growing facility using techniques honed by the aquaculture industry to grow kelp and shellfish. Those plants and animals will absorb nitrogen from the water as they grow. Sugar kelp grows most rapidly and thus absorbs nutrients from the water column the fastest during the winter months. Shellfish grow best in warm waters. Combining the two, therefore, offers the potential for nutrient uptake year-round. At the end of the project, the team will gather data on the nutrient content of the kelp and shellfish, thus getting a solid estimate of the nutrients removed from the water. We want to learn whether nutrient uptake based on aquaculture could be a cost-effective option compared to the alternatives. On a pound-for-pound basis, is it less expensive to manage nutrients entering Casco Bay by upgrading wastewater treatment plants, by building green infrastructure, or by investing in seaweed aquaculture? we'll have a much better idea in a couple of years. In the long run, we envision the possibility of a nutrient trading scheme for Portland waters, but there's a lot of work to do before we get there. This project will model a creative problem-solving approach to improving Portland's water quality. Nitrogen removal, based on aquaculture methods, could be an important and cost-effective tool in our water quality and nutrient trading toolbox.
Fantastic. And now we have a message of congratulations.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Chellie Pingree. I'm so glad to join you virtually today to congratulate the Casco Bay Estuary Partnership on being awarded this funding. States like Maine rely on pristine oceans and coastline. Compared to other areas on the East Coast, Casco Bay is relatively healthy, but nutrient pollution is a rising problem, leading to harmful algal blooms, ocean acidification, and other ecological effects that distress marine habitats and disrupt the fishing and tourism industries, which are the backbone of our coastal economies. Increasing population and climate change effects are likely to make the problem more severe in the future, but there's still time to act. With research, science, dedication from organizations like Casco Bay Estuary Partnership, and support from federal programs like the Coastal Watersheds Grant program, we can protect our watersheds and in turn protect our ecosystems, economies, and communities. I'm proud to have helped secure this funding through my role as chair of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies. With funding from this grant program, local organizations in Maine and across the country will have the tools they need to ensure clean water and healthy ecosystems and fight against climate change. Thank you for being a catalyst for climate action. I assure you, Mainers for generations to come will be eternally grateful. I already am.
Thank you, Representative Pingree. Now to the West Coast in Oregon.
Hi, my name is Jesse Kane, and I am the Community Education and Engagement Coordinator here at the Tillamook Estuaries Partnership. I'm going to be talking to you today about the Sitka Sedge Tidal Wetland Project we have going on here in Tillamook County, Oregon. Overall goal of this project being to open up 68 acres of wetland habitat and create tidal connectivity within the Sand Lake Estuary. Currently, we have a half-mile dike separating our freshwater marsh from the greater Sand Lake Estuary. The dike currently acts as a barrier to fish passage, so breaching it will allow not only increased connectivity, but increased habitat for the multitude of species that rely upon it. In Oregon, we've lost 70% of that wetland habitat in the last century alone. So recovering it is of utmost importance to us, as they provide that unique environment at the confluence of fresh and salt water, which a huge diversity of species rely solely on. One of those being the coho salmon, which are a threatened species here on the Tillamook coast and are one of the species that are targeted for recovery within this project. When restored, the Sitka sedge hopes to provide potential habitat for over 160,000 juvenile coho, which is a huge win for us here in Tillamook. And the project will not only benefit the fish, it's also going to benefit the surrounding community by actively addressing potential flooding issues and putting in place the necessary infrastructure to protect against some major storm events. The Sitka Sedge site is owned by the Oregon Department of Parks and Recreation, so it's a great partnership for us and is actually a very well-used recreation site. And we want to continue the usage of that public park and recreate the existing hiking trails that exist upon the dike in a safer and effective way that allows people to take in the natural beauty and diversity of that special location. And really, the Tillamook Estuaries Partnership is extremely excited about this project, and we really want to take this moment to thank the Restore America's Estuaries Selection Committee for awarding us this Coastal Watershed Grant and helping to make this unique opportunity possible here in Tillamook County. So, thank you all.
And now, some warm wishes from Representative Schrader.
Hey, congratulations to the Tillamook Estuaries Partnership. Getting selected for one of these coastal watershed grants, it's a big deal. I think you've shown that you can really deliver, and I think the Sitka Sedge Trail project is going to be one of those that not only makes the community and the water quality better, but shows our community to advantage in the whole climate change estuary field. TEP's got a long history doing this. The Southern Corridor project shows you know how to get the job done. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that you got selected for the grant this cycle. And by partnering, with all the folks you're doing, that's the way we like to see it, where everyone kicks in and helps out and shows that community spirit with the Confederated Tribes of the Silex, the Parks Department, U.S. Forest Service, got the DEQ, a host of different cities engaged with their watersheds, Nestucco, Sand Lake, and Nescoin. Really good job, really good job. So congratulations again to TEP for bringing this project home. Look forward to more success and continued opportunities in the future. All the best.
Thank you, Representative Schrader. Now we're going to head to Florida's Gulf Coast.
The Coastal and Heartland National Estuary Partnership, part of the US EPA's National Estuary Program, is excited to be accepting a Coastal Watershed Grant for the habitat and hydrological restoration of the Wild Turkey Strand Preserve in Lee County, Florida. We thank Congress for allocating these added funds, which can be used to directly aid the restoration of the US's estuaries of national significance. Our estuaries in Southwest Florida face many threats, including wetland and upland habitat loss, nutrient pollution, and coastal erosion. Our wetlands are essential ecosystems that filter nutrients and recharge our drinking water supplies, provide flood protection, as well as habitat for many endangered species. To address these threats, the CHNEP staff, together with Lee County, a member of our partnership, will be restoring over 413 acres of former agricultural lands within the Wild Turkey Strand Preserve to enhance wetland and upland habitats, improve water quality, and restore hydro periods and ecosystem functions. The preserve consists of wetlands, pine flatwoods, prairies, hammocks, and swamps. Restoration of this area will include the creation of flowways that will fill existing ditches and swales and create a mosaic of higher upland areas. This will improve water depths and hydro periods to result in expanded wetlands in a more natural state, and water control structures will be added to prevent draining of wetlands to the north. Additionally, exotic vegetation will be removed and native vegetation will be planted. The project will provide restored and enhanced habitat to over 100 animals and 500 plant species, including species such as the wood stork, roseate spoonbill, bald eagle, gopher tortoises, butterfly orchids, and giant air plants. It will improve water quality and estuarine health with restored, more natural flows to our estuaries. It will also provide public recreational areas with ADA accessible facilities and trails for visitors to enjoy. To learn more about this project and other projects that the CHNEP is undertaking, please visit chnep.org. Thank you.
Great. And now we're going to head to Maryland.
Civilization has created some unique challenges for living things over the centuries. The building of mill dams on our waterways helped our country grow, but cut off valuable upstream habitat. Some of America's earliest residents took advantage of the many tributaries.
Here on the eastern shore of Maryland and throughout Delaware, colonists came to this country. One of the first things they started to do was to build mill ponds because they needed mills in order to generate power so that they could mill flour, saw wood.
Swan's Gut Creek was no exception.
Behind me is Big Mill Dam, which flows into Swan's Gut Creek, which eventually actually flows into Chincoteague Bay, which is part of the Coastal Bay's watershed. So it's in between the mainland and then Assateague Island and Chincoteague Island. Big Mill Dam was built in the 1700s and actually continued to function as a mill for quite some time into the early 1900s. Our goal is to achieve anadromous fish passage upstream.
The Swan's Gut Creek Tidal Fish Passage Recovery Project will modify the stream channel at Big Mill Pond to enhance both ecological and infrastructural resilience by providing for nature-like fish passage with minimal impacts to surrounding wetlands.
We've already completed a similar project to this at Bishopville, Maryland, which was also removing an old aging dam structure to allow for anadromous fish passage upstream. We've been monitoring it for the last 6 years and it's actually been a very successful project.
We're really trying to design with nature And when you do that, you're really using minimal structures so that we can make a project that's going to be, self-sustaining over the long haul.
Construction will consist of a series of pools and weirs, so it'll be almost like a spread out ladder that will allow the fish to go up a series of those pools and weirs over a 5% slope for each one to kind of get from below dam gradient to the water level of the pond.
The low-impact regenerative technique allows local residents to retain their pond while opening up over 5 miles of upstream spawning grounds that have not been accessible to fish for hundreds of years.
And that upstream habitat is actually really unique in the coastal bays because it's one of the few unchannelized streams that we have left.
We're doing something that is going to be nature-based, is going to be resilient during major flood events, and is going to be stable over the long term, and I mean, hundreds of years.
Fantastic, and congratulations again to all of the projects that were selected. Thank you for joining us today. We'll provide future opportunities to hear from our awardees. Thanks again to EPA, our partners, members of Congress, and everyone who made today possible. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have questions or would like additional information. You may also head to our website. You can see the link there if you would like additional information, including the RFP documents and related content. Please stay in touch, stay safe, and be well. Thank you.